Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. We start our video today with a story about a quiet evening, a teenage girl reading a book, and a self-declared neighborhood enforcer who mistook entitlement for authority. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. She tried to gatekeep the park. The police unlocked it. My mom and I rent the mother-in-law suite behind a larger house. We've only been in the neighborhood about 6 months, and because we move a lot, we mostly keep to ourselves. One quiet evening, I decided to read outside. The subdivision has a tiny community green with a slide, 2 swings, and a half-moon bench under a maple tree. No one else was around, so I settled onto a swing with my paperback. 10 minutes later, the back door of a nearby house swung open and a woman marched across the grass. Late 50s, neat bob, workout leggings that had never seen a treadmill. Pure HOA energy. She stopped a few steps from me. "Excuse me, this park is private," she said. "I know," I replied. "I live here." She frowned like I'd spoken Martian. "Where exactly?" "On Juniper Court," I answered and reopened my book. Juniper Court was the subdivision's only street. It should have been enough. She took a step closer. "Everyone on Juniper knows me. I don't recognize you." "We rent the in-law suite behind number 12. "No, you don't. I've met the owners." "They rent out the back cottage," I said, trying to stay calm. "That's where my mom and I live." Her lips curled. "Show me proof." "Proof of what?" "Your address, driver's license, something." The idea of handing my home address to a stranger who was already angry made my stomach knot. "I'm 16, I said. "My mom told me never to give personal info to someone I don't know." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. This is a safe neighborhood." "Then you should feel safe knowing I live here," I answered. Her voice hardened. "Either show me ID or leave." I texted my mom a quick SOS. At the playground, woman demanding my address, not comfortable. Before Mom could reply, the woman pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "Yes, police, please. There's a trespasser in the private park, a teenage girl." I stood ready to walk away, but she followed at my shoulder. Every instinct said not to lead her to our door, so I stayed in the open waiting for the police. 2 officers arrived, spoke with her first, then turned to me. Officer 1 asked, "Where do you live?" I handed over my learner's permit, same neighborhood, cottage behind number 12. They glanced at the address, looked at the woman, then back at me. Frustration flickered across their faces. Clearly a waste of time call. "We know the homeowners," Officer 2 said. "He's the HOA vice president." "We rent from him," I repeated. The woman crossed her arms. "I never authorize renters to use the park." Officer 1 sighed. "Ma'am, anyone who lives on Juniper can use it. Leaseholders count." She opened her mouth to argue, but the officer cut her off. "That's the rule. If you have a problem, bring it to the HOA board, not the police." I asked the officers quietly, "Please don't share my exact unit number with her." They nodded. Understood. The officers walked her back toward her house, explaining the difference between curiosity and harassment. I heard her hissing about ungrateful teenagers and people who don't belong. The officers kept their voices calm but firm. When they left, the playground was quiet again. I texted my mom the all clear, closed my book, and headed home along the sidewalk without a self-appointed gatekeeper pacing behind me. It's also great that you thought ahead and asked the officers not to share your exact address with her. No need to give a nosy, entitled neighbor more ammunition. And our second story. Entitled neighbor banned us from the driveway, then tried to send us the bill. When my ex and I rented a tiny 1-bedroom cottage downtown, we were warned the lot was odd. 2 houses squeezed onto a single property. Ours, number 13, hugged the sidewalk. The second house, number 11.5, sat kitty corner behind us, sharing a long, narrow driveway along the left side of our place. The driveway could hold 4 cars, 5 if you parked with surgical precision. The back tenant, Karen, announced herself on day 1. She invited herself over, "I'll pop by for wine later," stamped across our porch at midnight with revolving boyfriends, and summoned police every other week to eject whichever man was currently trespassing in her life. Twice, paramedics carried away overdose victims. Once, an electrical fire spread through her living room and racked up $35,000 in repairs. All of this took place 50 feet from our paper-thin walls. Karen's first decree: the driveway belonged to her alone. I can't risk someone blocking my car, she said, wagging a manicured finger when we moved in. My guests need quick exits. We agreed for the sake of peace and warned friends and family to avoid the strip of asphalt. Karen still exploded whenever someone ignored the memo. She screamed at my sister while we unloaded boxes, swore at my mother, and tried to intimidate my 78-year-old grandfather until she saw my mom hoist his wheelchair out of the trunk. Rather than battle her, we adapted. On the opposite side of our house lay a patch of knee-high weeds laced with poison ivy. We pulled the ivy, laid gravel, and built a little side lot for our car. Problem solved. Then winter hit. Snow buried the street and drifts up to the mailbox lids. While I drank coffee inside, my SO shoveled our gravel spot every hour, clearing a path from our front door to the car and salting the walkway. Karen, meanwhile, cursed at the storm, shattered a plastic shovel, and finally hired a plow crew. 2 men arrived, dug out her driveway, cleared her steps, and vanished in 40 minutes. That evening, the landlord's truck rolled up. Through the kitchen window, I heard Karen's voice, sharp, indignant, telling him the plow bill was outrageous and we should cover half since we shared the property. Then the knock came at our side door. I opened it to Karen, thrusting the invoice at my chest. You owe $200, she snapped. Landlord says we're splitting it. I'm not paying, I said. You have to, she insisted. You benefited from the service. I didn't, I replied. I don't use the driveway, remember? Your rule. She sputtered. The landlord cleared his throat. Is that true? I nodded. I've parked on my gravel pad since August. Karen told me many times never to set a tire in her driveway. Karen started to object, but the landlord raised a hand. Then the bill is hers, he said, turning to her. Service on an area you've claimed exclusively is your responsibility. She opened and closed her mouth like a fish, but no words came. I thanked the landlord, wished them a pleasant night, and shut the door. From inside, I heard Karen ranting, footsteps stomping up and down my porch, and one last attempt to bang on the door. The landlord's calm voice cut through. Enough! Pay the bill and share the drive from now on. By spring, the driveway was neutral territory. Karen still glared whenever I parked there, but she never spoke another word about fees or anything else to me. Her pool of drama shrank a little, and I enjoyed my legally shared strip of asphalt. Instead of engaging in endless arguments, you simply stopped using the driveway completely. That made her look ridiculous when she suddenly wanted to split expenses for something she'd claimed as her own. And our last story. All Karen had to do was walk 2 houses over. She chose $3,300 in fines instead. When I bought my last house, it was clear I wasn't just getting a property, I was inheriting decades of boundary stomping entitlement. The place backed up to the beach, and thanks to years of neglect by the previous absentee landlords, it had become the community's unofficial shortcut to the water. It was technically private property, but the owners hadn't enforced that. It had been a crumbling student rental, full of hazards, busted steps, and broken windows. The first time I set foot on the lawn post-closing, a group of frat bros pulled up in pickup trucks and started hauling off garbage from the yard while I stood there watching. One of them gave me a half wave like, hey man, we got this. I shrugged. Honestly, they were doing me a favor. Let them clear out the broken futons and beer-stained deck chairs. Less trash for me to haul. But once they were gone, I got to work. I installed cameras, I started putting up fencing, I brought in a massive dumpster, and I started reclaiming what should have been my backyard. That's when the real chaos began. Every other day, someone from the neighborhood would wander through the yard like it was a public park. When I politely explained that this was now private property, I got everything from eye rolls to full-blown meltdowns. The worst offender, a woman we'll call Karen. Mid-40s, tennis skirt visor, pushing a beach cart like she was royalty rolling through her summer palace. The first time I caught her hauling her crap across my lawn, she looked surprised to see me. Karen, oh, you're the new owner. Me, yeah, I am. And this is private property now. There's a public beach entrance 2 houses down. Karen, laughing like I was joking, honey, I've been coming this way for years. It's tradition. Can't you just leave the gate open? I mean, we're neighbors. Me, tradition doesn't supersede trespassing laws. Karen's smile dropped. Karen, look, I just want to get to the beach without walking all the way around. You could at least build a walkway or something. Big enough for a cart and maybe a cooler. We'd all appreciate it. Me. Not happening. Karen stomped off, muttering something about calling the city and ruining the community. From that day on, I was public enemy number one. People would come bang on my fence, shout insults from the sidewalk, or stop me in the grocery store to demand I do the right thing and reopen access. One afternoon, I caught Karen and two teenagers sunbathing on my lawn. Chairs, umbrella, cooler, like it was a damn resort. Me. Get off my property. Karen. Excuse me? Me. You're trespassing. I have cameras. I have signs. You've been warned. Karen stood up, arms crossed. Karen. I'm calling the police. You're harassing us. Me. Please do. I'd love to get this documented. So she did. And when the officers showed up, I showed them the footage. Karen trying to rip my no trespassing sign off the gate. Her kids pulling my hose to the beach. Her setting up her little beach picnic right next to my grill like it was a public barbecue. The cops gave her a warning, told her to stay off my land. She glared at me like I'd just burned her favorite beach towel. But she didn't stop. She came back 2 weeks later with bolt cutters and tried to open the side gate. Caught on camera again. This time I didn't wait. I filed charges. Trespassing, vandalism, attempted theft. Because yes, she'd moved my hose and left it down at the beach. Court date came, I showed up with footage, signage records, my property deed, and a very angry lawyer friend. Karen tried to argue she had easement rights because of long-time use. The judge wasn't impressed. Judge, ma'am, this is not a public easement. You're not entitled to someone else's private land just because you've been ignoring property lines for a decade. Karen, but it's how the whole neighborhood. Judge, that's not a legal defense. You've been warned, cited, and now you're charged. She was fined $2,500 for trespassing, another $800 for property damage, and ordered to stay off my land or face jail time. And just for fun, I installed an even taller privacy fence the next day, painted the beach-facing side bright red. The neighborhood now had to walk the extra 5 minutes to the proper beach path like everyone else. Karen never looked at me again. But I did hear her mutter something at the post office about that sociopath with cameras. I smiled. Cameras don't lie, Karen. I still have the footage of her dragging a full-size beach cart through my flower beds while calling me a gatekeeping psycho. Oh, Karen, imagine being so entitled that you treat someone's literal backyard like a public sidewalk and then have the nerve to act offended when they tell you to get off their private property. This woman really rolled up with her little beach cart and cooler like she was checking into a resort, then called the police because you ruined her shortcut? Wow. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.